President, Hurricanes Harvey and Irma and Maria have left a path of destruction along the Texas Gulf Coast in Florida and Puerto Rico. The damage caused by these storms will be felt for many years to come. And this emergency supplemental is another step forward to recovery for the millions of Americans who call these places home. But I want to remind my colleagues that there's still an ongoing natural disaster in the West that is leaving families displaced, costing taxpayers billions of dollars. It's destroying structures, and it's taking human lives. As of today, 5,000 firefighters are still battling more than 250,000 acres of wildfires that are burning across the West. In my home state of Montana, despite an early snowfall, families this last weekend in Muscle County were forced to evacuate after a fire ripped through a dry landscape and put their homes and livelihoods at risk. In California, more than 8,000 structures have been lost to wildfires this year alone. And with temperatures expected to be in the 90s all week, there doesn't seem to be any end in sight. Across the country, in total, fires have burned nearly 9 million acres, significantly more than the yearly average. 1.2 million of those acres are in Montana, and these fires have cost the taxpayers nearly $3 billion to date. Quite frankly, these wildfires have been devastating in Montana and in states across the West. It is critically important that we take quick action to mitigate the damage caused by these fires and get communities back on their feet. The funds in this emergency package will reimburse the Forest Service for the funds borrowed to fight wildfires. When the Forest Service has to borrow from its non-fire accounts to cover firefighting on the ground, we lose out on critical maintenance and mitigation and restoration work. This funding will pay back those accounts and support the work that is needed to recover after a record-breaking fire season. This funding can help restore the trails and the roads that were lost to fire, as well as keep our fishing streams clean and clear from runoff this spring. It will get folks back in the woods, thinning and cutting and removing debris. And it can provide the Forest Service with the resources to quickly salvage the dead and dying trees that are still usable. Get that timber into our local lumber mills. Unfortunately, though, this bill fails to provide a long-term budget fix to pay to fight wildfires. Fire seasons are getting longer, they're getting more intense, which is quickly transforming the Forest Service from a forest management agency into a forest firefighting agency. Look, folks, our climate is changing. History is telling us that our fire seasons are becoming more intense and they're becoming longer. Longer fire seasons will mean more borrowing from the Forest Service to fight these wildfires. We need a long-term fix. Fires are burning a hole through the Forest Service budget, which too often leaves our forests unmanaged and at further risk for more catastrophic fires in the future. Money that should be used to curb the fire risks, maintain and improve forest health, research and develop better forest management policies, and fund the work that must get done to make our forests more resilient is borrowed to fight wildfires. We must change the way we're paying for fighting wildfires, and the Bipartisan Wildfire Disaster Funding Act is one step toward that fix. We must keep pressing forward to get this bill signed into law. Then we need to adjust the disaster budget cap to make sure this is truly a long-term fix. As I said, this bill doesn't contain all of the answers that we need to reduce wildfires, but it is no doubt a step in the right direction. It lets the Forest Service treat wildfires just like other natural disasters. That means more reliable support for forest management projects and emergency funding for catastrophic wildfire seasons. These important wildfire and forest resources, combined with providing the necessary FEMA, flood insurance, and food assistance to those displaced by hurricanes, will take us a major step forward after a series of devastating natural disasters. But I want to underscore that we aren't at the finish line yet. And I will work with Chairman Bozeman on the Homeland Security Appropriations Subcommittee to ensure that all Montanans and all Americans impacted by natural disasters aren't left waiting for Congress to act. Folks from both parties are going to have to work together to ensure that every community impacted by hurricanes, flood, and fires has the resources to recover and turn the page. Americans directly impacted by these natural disasters continue to wake up each morning, displaced, hungry, without power, and surrounded by destruction. Congress must remain diligent and ensure that these communities have the support that they need and that they deserve. Finally, I will just say this. We are here today talking about a disaster funding bill. We are talking about that disaster funding bill because disasters are becoming more and more common. It's not going to change. We need to get down and address the root cause of this, which is an ever-changing climate. And until we do, we're going to continue to see taxpayer dollars go out the door for disasters year after year. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor. Suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk